to word problem notes, day one. So our first example we have is math and science problems. So you have a total of 42 math and science problems for homework. You have 10 more math problems than you have than science problems. How many problems do you have in each subject? Write a system of linear equations to justify your answers. So that word systems means two equations. So in our equations, we have two variables. So I'm going to kind of box my variables just to kind of help me kind of organize my thinking. So I'm thinking, hey, I have math problems, so I'll use M for math problems and S for science problems. So what this does is it just helps me organize my thinking, kind of what we've done in the past. So when we go to solving or writing our equations before we solve our equations, I know where I'm heading when I write them. So I'm going to think about that first sentence of how do you find a total? Well, to find a total, we have to add two numbers together to get a total of 42. So a lot of times with these word problems, is what you do is you kind of structure what you can. Put what you can down. You know that total is adding, so we just put plus, and we know it has to equal 42. And what do we have to add together? Math and science problems. So we go over here, we've got our M for math, plus our S, and there's our first equation. So now we have to go to the second sentence for our second equation. Now this one's the tricky one. And how I've learned how to do this is to kind of set it up and use my hands. And I'll teach you how to do that. And it really helps kind of organize your thinking into an equation and you always get it right. So I'm going to start with, since my sentence says math problems first, I'm going to start with M equals and then S science problems. So if that 10 more wasn't there, it would just be math equals science problems. But the 10 is there. So now I'm going to think about, okay, so I'm going to put my hands out in front of me. So I want you to do that too, is put your hands out in front of you. And you're going to shake the left hand and think, this is my math side. So whenever I see math problems, I'm going to do something with that. And then on your right hand, shake your right hand now. And that'll be your science. And because they are equal, we're going to keep them right level next to each other. That's what that equals means. So now we're going to go back up and shake our math because that comes first. So shake your math hand a little bit, keep them equal. And it says you have 10 more math problems. So what I'm going to be thinking about is that 10 more math problems. So this kind of goes up here. So my left hand is raising. Doesn't it feel like you want to raise a 10? So about something or 10, that's where it's going to be. So now it's not equal. So your left hand and your right hand are not equal. So to make them equal, we have to make the science side go up 10 to make them equal. So think about that. You have 10 more math problems. So you're, okay, well, let's think about that. Math was next and science were equal. And then the sentence up here says 10 more math problems. So we're going to raise that left side because that's our math side. To make them equal, we raise the science side. So to make that equation true, we have to add the 10 to the science side. So now we've got two equations, and to write or to solve two equations, what we can do is substitute. So we're going to take one equation and substitute it in. So I'll circle that because that's M. So I'm going to draw my arrow to the M of the other equation. And I can substitute that S plus 10 in for M. So S plus 10. Bring down my plus S. Bring down my equals. Bring down my 42. Oh, so I'm solving for S now. S plus S is 2S plus 10 equals 42. Oh, now it's just a two-step problem, so we can subtract 10 from both sides. So 2S equals 32. Divide both sides by 2. So S equals, well, half of 30 is 15. Half of 2 is 1, so 15 plus 1 is 16 science questions. So we've got our one group already. Now to find our math problems, we just have to substitute that into our, I'll use the second equation. So math equals science, which was 16 plus 10. So we have math, m equals 26 math problems. So we've got 26 math problems and 16 science problems. Remember, we want to do a little check. So we'll check both equations. So I'll try the first one first. So m is 26 plus s, which is 16. Does that equal 42? So that would be 6 and 6 is 12. Oh, 2 and 4 is 42. Does equal 42. So I can give myself a check for that one. The other equation is m, which is 26, should equal s, which is 16 plus 10, and that does equal. So it works for both of them. So now we know we have 10 more math problems. And I can see that there are 10 more math problems. So now when we kind of look at the next problem, it's another math and science problem. So we can kind of define our variables. So we'll do m for math problems, s for science problems, and we can start to think about, we do have to write a system. So I was kind of glancing through and I see total, 3 more than, and system. System meaning we have to write two equations. So that kind of helps us kind of know, and I kind of see my two sentences that have the two equations. So for my first sentence, I'm going to remember total is adding to get 21 points, or 21 problems. And we've got our math problems plus our science problems is 21 total point problems. Now remember, the 3 more than is that tricky one. So we're going to start, this time it starts with science problems. So I'm going to start with my S, leave some space in between it, equals M. So 3 more science problems than math. So now I'm going to put my hands out in front of me again. My science is my left hand, so shake your left hand. Then shake your math side, which is your right side now, so you're shaking your right hand. And I'm thinking science, that comes first. So I'm going to kind of give it a little shake so I know which one's my science. You have 3 more science problems, so I'm going to kind of feel that going up a little bit to 3. So now they're not equal, but to make them equal, I need to add 3 to the right side, and then I bring that up as I write it down, plus 3, and that makes the two sides equal to each other. So the plus 3 has to go with the math side to make them equal to the number of signs. So now I go and solve it. So it's another substitution equation. One equation into the other. So this time though, this is the science, the S. So I'm going to draw my arrow to the S and substitute that in. So m plus, now this is sometimes where people make their mistakes. If I put a 3 here, I've only written down the equation for the S right here. Do you see how I'm missing the m out front? So we have to be really careful about when we write this one because it's kind of tricky. So the S, if we think about it, is this group for S equals 21. And in that group, we're going to write m plus 3. So we've got m plus 3 equals 21 as solving for m. So m plus n is 2m. Bring down the plus 3, bring down the equals 21. Now it's a 2-step problem, so we can solve that by subtracting 3 from both sides. So 2m equals 20 minus 2 is 18. 15, divide both sides by 2, m equals 9. So that means we have 9 math problems. And now we have to figure out how many science problems. And I'll use that second equation because it's a lot easier. S equals 9 plus 3. Because 9 is our math. So 9 plus 3 is 12 science problems. So we've got 12 science problems and 9 math problems. And that is 3 more than. But we want to do our little check. So we'll do the first equation. So m is 9 plus 12. That should equal 21. So 9 plus 12, yep, is one more, yep, 21. So that's a check. My second check is the other equation. So my science is 12 equals 9 plus 3. So 9 plus 3 is 12. Yep, that's a check too. So that works for both of those. So 9 math and 12 science. Now we come to our third example, and it's a perimeter problem. So perimeter problems are a little tricky in that we, in defining our variables, so let's do length is, L is our length, W is our width, now, what helps is to draw a picture. Ooh, I just drew a rectangle. And here's where a lot of people make their mistakes with perimeter problems. So, length and width, they could be either, but a lot of people like the length. Oh, let me read the first sentence. The length of the rectangle is 12 more than the width. So that kind of sort of tells me that the length is wider than the width. So I kind of know that. So I'm going to kind of label my rectangle that way. So wait, I've got 2 L's and 2 W's. That's my perimeter. So I got to remember that. But since my first sentence is the length starting, I'm going to start with my equation with L, give myself some space on both sides, and a little bit of space between front of W and in the back of W. So now we've got length equals width. So there's my hands. Put them out front. I'm going to shake my left hand for L, for the length, and shake my right hand for the W. So I'm going to, since I started my equation with length, I'm going to shake my length hand and say length, and read the sentence. Length of the rectangle. Oh, remember, we're going to put the length and width together. They're equal at the same level. So the length of a rectangle is 12 centimeters more. So that feels like that length. And I'm going to bring my left hand up. Feels like I should do that because that's higher. It's 12 inches more. So then to make it equal, now they're not equal because the W is too low. So to do that, I'm going to bring the W up, the width, 12 more inches to make them equal. So now we go on to the second sentence, perimeter. How do we find perimeter? Well, we take the width plus wait a minute, it's not width plus the length equals perimeter of 44. It's 2 lengths and 2 widths. And that's where a lot of people make their mistakes. They think about it just as W plus L. And that sort of goes back with the math and science problems, is where it was up here with the M and the S, because they weren't perimeter. Perimeter has 2 lengths and 2 widths added together to get 44. So now we've got our 2 equations that we can solve to find the length and the width. So now we just, length is by itself, so we'll circle W plus L, and that is going to go, arrow is going to go right to the L because that is the length. So we're going to rewrite 2W plus 2L equals 44. So in that L, I'm going to substitute w plus 12. And to solve that, we're going to distribute. So that would be 2w plus 2w plus 24 equals 44. So we'll add the w's together. So 4w plus 24 equals 44. Subtract 24 from both sides. 4w equals 20. Divide both sides by 4. So w equals 5. So I'm going to write that up over here. So w, the width, equals 5. And to get the length, I'll use the first equation. So our length equals 5 plus 12. So our length is 17. And just like we did before, we do need labels. All word problems do need labels. So we go back to the equation and go, hey, there's a centimeters, so our width is 5 centimeters, and our length is 17 centimeters. And that is how we do perimeter problems. Now we'll do one more of those. Example. So we've got a length, our perimeter problem. So length is, L is length, W is width. So now we'll write our equations because we have to write a system, which means we have two equations. So the length of the rectangle is 4 times the width. So the length comes first, giving myself space for the width. So that would be length is 4 using my hands. So length, shaking length on my left side. So the length is 4 times, so it's going to go pretty far up. Now they're not equal, so to make them equal, I want to raise my right hand. By doing that in our equation, we multiply it by 4 because it says times 4. Ooh, so it's a little different. So now we do the perimeter, and remember, perimeter, we draw ourselves a little picture. The length was longer, so we have 2 L's and 2 W's. So our equation is 2 lengths plus 2 W's equals, where is it? Oh, there it is, 70. And I'm going to remember it's 70 centimeters for at the end to label. So now we're going to substitute in. So 4W, remember that's our L, and that will be substituted in for L. So 2 times 4W plus 2W equals 70. Now remember, this isn't distributive property because earlier we had a plus in between those, so that is the distributive property. This is just multiplied 2 times 4W, which is 8W plus 2W equals 70. Oh, so I can just add my W's together to get 10W equals 70. Ooh, I like those numbers. Divide both sides by 10, so our width is 7. Ooh, and I remember it's W equals 7 centimeters. Our length then is, let's use that top one, the first one. The length equals 4 times 7, which is 28. So that would be 28 centimeters. And is our length 4 times the width? And it is. So now what I'd like you to do is to try it on your own. So you can pause the video, solve this, and then you can unpause it to check your answer. All right, so our total, so we've got math and science, so M is our math. I'm going to define our variables, we call it science. So the total is plus 45, so we've got math plus the science is 45. You have math problems, oh, more math problems, 13 more. So M, give yourself space on S comes second because math comes first. So left hand and the right hand are equal. So now I'm going to read the sentence, shake my math hand because it's first. You have 13 more math problems. So my left hand goes up higher. They are not equal anymore. So to make them equal, I need to add 13 because a 13 more, it would be add 13. So now we'll substitute that in for M. So we've got S plus 13 plus S equals 45. We can add the two S's, so 2S plus 13 equals 45. Subtract 13 from both sides. Bring down the 2S equals 32. Divide both sides by 2. S equals 16. So S equals 16 science problems. And then we'll substitute that in for M equals 16 plus 13, which would be 29 problems. So the number of math problems is 29 math problems. I have one more for you to work on your own. See if you can do it. And then you can come back and check it. All right, so we've got length and width. So I'll define those variables. W is our width. All right, so we'll start with length of a rectangle is 3 times the width. Give some space in both sides just in case. So shake the length hand, they're equal. Hands out in front, they're equal. So we'll read the sentence. So the length of the rectangle is 3 times the width. So the left side hand goes up because the length side goes up. So now they're not equal. So to make them equal, we multiply the right hand to get them equal. And then perimeter, remember perimeter now? We have to remember 2 widths and 2 lengths. So that would be 2L plus 2W equals 72. And then we'll substitute 3W in for L because L equals that. Draw our arrow to L. So that would be 2 times 3W plus 2W equals 72. 2 times 3W is 6. Remember, you just multiply those together because it's all multiply there. It's not a distributive property. Oh, we can add the W's together. So 8W equals 72. Divide both sides by 8. So the width is 9. So over here I'll put W equals 9. And I'll need the length. So I'll substitute that in for one of my equations. So I'll do the top equals 3 times 9, which is 27. And 9 times 3 is 27, and they add up together to get 72. Or no, twice each of those. Not add together, but twice those two are 72. Oh, guess what I forgot to do? I almost forgot my labels. Oh, it's not centimeters this time, it's feet. So I quickly looked up here and said, oh, it's feet. And it's only once in there. It was on the perimeter, so we have to be careful. So 9 feet and 27 feet. So we have to remember that all word problems have a label.